It says that I'm the CTO, but it doesn't seem like that. It's great to be back. I was the first time here, 97, building fiber optics in the Tulce area. Stokab, we are an open access fiber network in Stockholm. This is the marketing department's name. So, we are owned by the city of Stockholm. We were founded in 1994, following the deregulation of the telecom market in Sweden. Here you can observe that we had only one operator in Stockholm, and the reason for Stokab was to create competition. We have no public funding, or actually it was 5,000 euros in order to register the companies. Otherwise it's loans in the beginning and earnings that we are building for. We are 100 employees, but with subcontractors it varies between 200 and 300 more people working on the fiber net. We have limited ourselves to the greater area of Stockholm, so we are a metro network. We only do business to business, not the end consumer in the fiber to the home, for example. We only have a physical infrastructure with the dark fiber. Point to point, no splitters, no GPON. We have built to 90% of all the households in Stockholm, meaning that all apartments, the rest of the 10% are taken care of by the operators using our fiber to a central point. And almost 100%, I don't want to say 100% because they are building new buildings all the time, So what have we achieved during these years? Inside the city of Stockholm, we pulled down 1.8 million kilometers of fiber, equaling I'm useless on this. Yeah. I need to point it that way. Yeah. Okay, thank you. It equals 45 labs around the world with fiber inside Stockholm, and we're renting it out. We have 9,800 kilometers of cable, and to make it in perspective, it means that we could actually go from Stockholm down to Cape Town in South Africa.
But when you say cable, what type of fiber optic cable is most used in Stockholm?
Ribbon cables.
So that's interesting that in Stockholm they are using ribbon cable, which you don't have in Romania at all.
No, we need the high fiber counts. We started with 96 fibers in 94, and the main cable now is 640 fibers, up to 1,000 fibers. And just recently we tried a new freeform fiber, spiderweb, with 1,728 fibers. We need larger cables. We have 600 nodes. The good thing about 600 nodes in a metro network is that if you have a cable cut, we can reroute our customers.
But what means for you nodes, Stefan? What is there in a node?
Half of them are just cross-connection rooms, only accessed by Stokab people. Half of them, we also provide room for operators for the active equipment, safety, cooling, electricity, in order to reach the end customer, mainly for the FTTH project, and now for the smart city, we will use that.
So it's like a cabinet over there, but is it inside or on the street or indoor in a building?
It's indoor, in the basement. We rebuild the room in existing buildings in the city, rent them long term from the owners, apartment owners.
Okay.
Yes. We have 24,000 termination points around Stockholm, meaning that when we get a question about connecting a point-to-point fiber, 90% of the time it's on net, meaning that we can give them a connection measured, tested, and ready within 10 days. And if they ask nicely, I can give it in 5 days. Just a tip if you want to establish you in Stockholm. This can not, maybe if it doesn't sound important, it was a very large operator that was very upset with a monopoly in Stockholm. They wanted to build their own network. I talked to him a few years ago, and he said he doesn't want to build any network. All his colleagues around the world are building in that company, but he said in Stockholm, they have a paying customer in 15 days. His colleagues, at least 90 days. So that's a good thing to think about. I'm getting a hold of this now. I said mainly Stockholm, but you can see the big yellow in the middle, that is Stockholm. But we also connected the regional hospitals and made a ring around the Lake Mälaren. It's actually our customers that want to connect to the city networks around Mälaren and get the traffic directed to Stockholm. One thing that we can do as owned by the city is connect the archipelago, meaning that the people of Stockholm living out on the islands, only accessed by boat, they have a better internet connection than I have because I'm not living in Stockholm. So that's a great thing, I think. This is just... So how we look at it in Stockholm is the public sector is responsible for the infrastructure. And we equalize it with roads. Of course, the city should build the roads in order for the people to have access. In Stockholm, also the subways is an easy way to go around. And therefore, we also found that a foundation of fiber optic cables in Stockholm area is beneficial for the citizens of Stockholm. It's open to all on equal terms to create competition on the service level, not on the infrastructure. And therefore, we wanted it to be provided by a neutral player, Stokab. We can also do the long-time planning and also make sure it's a future capacity. We talked about the sizes of the cable. And pricing, of course, it's equal to all. We have some exceptions during how long is the contract, the volume, how many fibers, how many connections, and so forth, and also the SLA level, service level agreements. And that can change the pricing, of course, and differ. Otherwise, it's the same if you're a big operator or a small newcomer. I think one thing is important also, both for safety, but you know the nuisance when they cut off the roads for you because they're digging and having it open for months and months. And the picture to the left, this is more putting down ducts when needed. And you can understand when they want to apply another duct, having to go down and digging, where's the safety for your duct that is put down earlier? To the right is how Stokab constructs. We put down...
excuse me, Stefan, so just to make a clarification, Stokab, that's a company not only building the network, but also doing the works, correct? So that's a company owned by the city of Stockholm, correct?
Stokab.
Stokab.
Yes, it's owned by the city of Stockholm, 100%.
And that is allowed also to do the works. And Stokab is doing the works also, diggings and things like this, correct?
Yes, we are, but on the same regulations as others, except that if Stokab asks to put down fiber in the streets, the municipality says yes. If you would come and ask, they won't say yes. But this is the reason why. We supply dark fiber on the level. If we didn't supply and always assured that we could supply, we couldn't have that rule. So that's quite important to remember.
And what is the size of these ducts, usual ducts? What is the size? 90, 100, what is, and PVC, HDP, what type of ducts are you using?
The ducts you see in the picture is 110 millimeters. They have room for 4 subducts, 40, 32. And we are not using the microducts yet. I will come back to that in the end. But for the deployment in the streets. But you can also see that when we are entering the building, we are even if we want 1 cable inside, we make sure that we, in this case, can get at least 4 cables more in total. So you don't have to put all the fibers day 1, but you should have an easy access to get the fiber in the later stage. But, no.
And the manholes there, these are manholes, that you have concrete manholes there,
We have concrete manholes, because I wanted them to be approved for at least 50 years, because then I'm retired. The Stokab is 26 years old now. And if we had used plastic manholes, I can just mention the number. We have 10,000 manholes in Stockholm, and I wouldn't want to get started changing those yet. And 50 years in concrete, after 50 years, I think, because it's in a city environment. You can have trucks, you can have a lot of traffic, building, construction. So it's really important to have to manage these weights that they can apply on them. And after 50 years with concrete, you can make an inspection and make an additional year. I think the probability of them lasting for 100 years is quite large, actually, with the way they are constructed.
But because you are saying about this timing problem, so we had yesterday a discussion about the aging, because you have already 26 years of operation with the company. Did you notice the problem of aging of the cables, of the fiber optic? Because nowadays there are rumors about the aging of the fiber optic. After 20 or 25 years, the fiber, some people, they are saying that it's getting old or aged. What experience do you have about these cables in your network?
I just had, it was part of a project when we looked at aging. It was Stokab and it was Telia. Telia is from 1835, the main operator in Sweden, and Trafikverket. Trafikverket is the one responsible for the large streets in between cities and the railroad. And what we could see is, for sure, after cables deployed after 1994, aging is not the problem. The problem that occur with those cables are first, usually they are too small, not enough fiber. It was a time when you put in 12, 24 fibers. So the fiber count is too small. And maybe you didn't do the ducts good enough, meaning that you have to do the deployment once again. You can't just pull it out and put in a bigger cable. In between cities, you have this, on the fiber part, the G652, the early ones, you had a water peak, a higher attenuation in some wavelength areas. For Stokab, in a city network and a metro network, there's no distance, so attenuation is not a problem for our customers, so we haven't changed. But the big thing is the cables were very poorly handled when they deployed the network. When they deployed the cable, you pulled the cable, and it went tough, you were more people, and it wasn't enough, you put it on the car, and then you pulled. So I was trying to get out some of the cables for testing, but we couldn't get them out of the ducts because they were so stuck. So I can just imagine what happened when they pulled them inside. So they're useless for us. But aging otherwise, our conclusion is we raised it to 40 years if the cable is after 1994. correctly installed, I must add. But here is a visualization of Stokab and where we position ourselves at the lowest end. Physical infrastructure. All the other services that are coming up is by the market, and we think this improves innovation. And the thing is, if we want to work like Stokab does, you should never compete with your customer. We can't put light in the fiber. And I think it's a good thing. I think we concentrate on making sure that we have enough fiber. We have a promise about it, because I said splitters. We don't have splitters or GPON. I think it's that is putting an final age on your network if you start working with those factors. For example, Netflix came overnight. Now everyone is Netflix. Of course you should have Netflix. I have it on my mobile phone. I have it everywhere. When Netflix was launched in Sweden, they called it the Black Friday, because the active equipment couldn't handle the streamed media. The good thing with Netflix is that Sweden went from being criminals, the largest country of illegal downloading, to actually starting paying for the movies. So it's quite nice to be legit now.
So that's nice to say about this. So because also you said something about putting enough fiber. So when you are making the design of the network, what means for you enough fiber? For example, we had yesterday a discussion about the actual status in Stockholm, that they want to change all the sign indicators in the city, correct?
Yeah.
So, and when you are planning now to change the road signs, which are very old, so I understood from you that you plan to put a fiber over there, or how many fibers you put for one road sign?
Yeah, I would come to that, but when we do it, if we get one customer in the street, future smart city, we deploy ducts for 2 air-blown units, fiber units, and one fiber unit for us is 12 fibers. So we connect, day one, 12 fibers in the street, even if they only one that customer. But we also prepare the canalization, since it's a microduct. This is when we use the microducts. And then you splice with the microducts. So we have prepared the microducts for splicing out for the future customers in the city. But in all honesty, no one knows what will happen tomorrow. A lot of people think they know, but not so many has built it yet. But we think with this system we are very prepared with it. And also you can think, one thing when you think about building the network, I can just mention that we finished the FTTH in 2012. 2012, we have finished it. 2 years ago, we deployed 100,000 fiber kilometers in Stockholm, not for new services, just to keep up the backbone, because we are connecting to all the fibers that we have built in, and we have to reinforce the network backwards. So it's not, you really have to think to build it correctly when you're passing a point, not just doing it for this one time. Am I going, the time is running out, or? This is also from the marketing department. We need to brag. We are the winner of the world's Smartest City Award in Barcelona now in 2019. And we at Stokab feel a big part of this also.
So here is what I see, Stefan, that was, I remember I visited 10 years ago the Stokab, so I remember that the first product you launched, it was duct leasing, correct? And then after this, after 2 years, or how long did you move to dark fiber leasing as a product?
No, we thought about the story. I wasn't from the beginning, but from the beginning, it was, should we do duct leasing or dark fiber leasing. And in fact, with a duct leasing, you can calculate how many customers you can get. With a dark fiber, and it's very lucky, because I will get to how many operators we have in Stockholm. If we had duct leasing, I wouldn't be here talking to you, because you wouldn't be interested in Stokab, I would say. The benefits, just to go quickly through them: low investment cost for our customers. Imagine you're an operator. I want to launch FTTH in Stockholm. You can put the switches under your arm and come up to Stockholm and install them. And then you go and knock on the door and say, "Hi, we are here. This is my offer." And then you get started. No construction, nothing. You can get started from day one. I think that's a benefit. We have 100 operators in Stockholm. 100. And I will be nice to see when the real 5G is launched for the city services, how many operators we will have. I think now mobile operators we have in Sweden is 4, and I think there will be a few more. We have 900 individual customers. I said it's just business to business. It's financial institutes, banks and insurance companies wanting to connect their offices around. Fixed prices, we have fixed price areas. They can go inside and measure the distance, the bird's view, and they can calculate, they have a list. So they can get the calculation, what will the fiber cost me between these two positions, and then negotiate with their end customer, not even having to contact Stokab. Make the negotiations, call us, ask me nicely, and you have it in 5 days. End consumer in Stockholm now have 1 gigabit for 20 euros, and they offer 10 gigabit in Stockholm. If you live inside Stockholm, you can get 10 gigabit to your house. I don't know.
This 10 gigabit was last year, was the year of 10 gig in Europe, correct? So when did you launch the 10 gig service?
We didn't launch it. It's our operators. It's our operators that launched it. So, but this is the thing. They are competing with each other. I talked to another, I won't mention it, with representatives from another country, and they're going from copper to fiber, and they are talking splitters because their benchmark is 18 megabyte from the copper. So they will have a longer evolution, I think. We are also a platform for innovation. Just quickly, some of our service providers, operators. But this is the nice thing, I think. Stockholm, we have the most unicorns per capita next to Silicon Valley, up in cold Stockholm. And Unicorn is a company valued over $1 billion. And you can see the highlighted names there. Before the fiber revolution, they didn't exist. And we think the environment that is created in Stockholm, not only by Stokab, but the total environment has benefited to this. Another service, when we have the coverage as we have, is that we have event fiber. Broadcasting companies, instead of taking the broadcasting bus, putting up the control room, connecting, pulling out the cables, they use our termination points, connect the camera. The broadcast in the studio is in one place, in the building where it's built. They don't need to move it in the Stockholm area. And just to brag a little bit, because of our coverage, we can also cover a marathon. So this is short-time lease. They lease it for 1 week. We connect them and disconnect them without a problem, and they have the fiber connection in the street or in the building or in the stadium. We have also started to try an automated ODF, a robot that connects, because now they put in a monthly fee in order to be in the system, and then we have hotspots. So if they want to broadcast from the Stockholm Stadium, we can connect them with a robot without sending any people out.
So Stefan, this is the first robot in fiber optic what I am hearing. It is correct? You are using the first robot in fiber optic industry here.
I think it's the first robot that is been used. I have seen a few, but this is the only. I haven't heard about anyone else using it.
Since when are you using this robot?
Now it's 4 years.
4 years. So wow, we are far away from here to hear about this. But I understand that this robot is for hotspots to connect easier and faster the hotspots for the events and things like this in the city. Correct?
Yeah, exactly. And because we can cut down time inside the company and also not having to send the technician out, we paid it off in less than 2 years.
Okay.
So.
That's great. So for anybody else who is interested in that can ask more about
Oh,
this.
yes. We need more customers because it's still experimentally. So we need to support these guys. We need to support these guys, really.
I think you said it right well. We need to support.
Exactly.
We are not far away, we are real away.
Yeah. But I can say when I made the decision, it was not a financial decision. It's just the benefit we got after when we saw how we can use it. But it was sole purpose was to give feedback and help them to do changes and make it commercial. This is what they have checked when they are looking at. The institutes look at Stokab and the effect, not Stokab, but the effect Stokab has on Stockholm region. The total return is 16 billion Swedish crowns because of the lower cost. You give out this presentation after. I don't really need to read them through here. What I wanted to say is, effect what we liked is that we were first in Europe with the 4G, and to be honest, I think the rollout totally in summertime, and if you know Sweden, you know no one works in July. We did it in 3 months, total coverage of Stockholm for multiple operators. The calculation is quite easy. The city sees, our owner knows with this calculation that if we put €1 in the ground, the city earns through all these points €3. So it's a gold mine. Smart city, just briefly, because no one is really building a smart city in a real way, we think. We have done a lot of pilots, but we are starting now. There are some legal problems, but we know how to build it. And things that you didn't think about before, but this is a bus stop. This bus stop is connected with 8 fibers. The commercial sign is now controlled remotely. Otherwise, they use a 4G modem and downloading during the night. This can also be interactive for asking about buses, directions, and so forth. And unfortunately, you heard about the terrorist attack we had in Stockholm a few years ago. The first thing that happened was the mobile network went down. And I have friends that was not directly affected, but out in the streets, and there was no possibility to communicate. There were rumors about shooting, people moving from the left side to the right side in the city because of these rumors. And just imagine if the city, with a fiber optic network that is uninterrupted, can go out with information to the citizen to keep down the panic. So that's the worst case scenario, but we think this is the future to use them in this way. The bus stops, when we looked at smart city and how can you deploy a smart city quickly, where should we put our fibers? And the thing is that the owner of the bus stop have 16,000 bus stops in Stockholm area. And if I was an operator who wanted to do some, of course I go to this guy. I don't go to every house building owner making a separate contract. So when you're looking to where to deploy your fibers, we have looked at things like this. We are not constructing them ourselves, because we were constructing everything ourselves, we wouldn't build it. It would cost too much. The cost to change this was, let's be correct, 400 euros in material and of course labor. And just to end up with what will happen, because I like when things will happen. Today the traffic signs are old, copper network, and they are, in the best case scenario, reacting because of local sensors about traffic oncoming. But a smart city shouldn't react, it should predict. And with the cameras and predicting, monitoring traffic, taking it in and calculating it, you can predict future traffic jams and redirect traffic. That's a smart city. And this year we will start, we have an order for 500 connections. We will start it this year. They still have to solve the legal issue because it's streamed video, and apparently it's very important how long this streamed video goes before you process it. It's above my knowledge. So I end off here. Roman Empire without roads, would it have been the same? We know in Stockholm what the subways made for us. I say subways here, but we are a city of lakes, so we're passing the lake over ground and then it goes down again. And the future, I think, the fiber belongs amongst those two. Thank you very much.